Okay, so right now we're going to be making our own homemade whipped cream. But I'm going to be using this whipped cream today for putting on top of iced coffee. Kind of like that heavy, what is it called? Foam? Cold foam? So, but I'm going to be using the homemade whipped cream to do it. So, you're going to use heavy whipping cream. Vanilla, this is my homemade vanilla. I'm going to be using very little of this because it is a little strong. So I'm going to use just a little. Normally you would use about, I don't know, like a little small tablespoon. Not even. You would just use like a little half of a tablespoon. This one, I'm just going to put like a couple drops. Well, maybe, hold on, let's see. I'm just using a little bit because it's very strong. So I'm going to put that in there. And that is homemade vanilla. You can use store-bought vanilla. And then you're going to use heavy whipping cream. Open this up. Pour this right in there. And then we're going to whip this up. You can use a half of a little pint instead of this whole quart. But I'm going to be making a lot. And then you're going to use sugar. So I like my whipped cream a little sweet. So I'm going to put enough sugar in here. I guess you'd use about half a cup. And then we're going to whip this up real good. And it'll thicken the longer, and you want to get it at a good consistency. You don't want to over whip it, because if you over whip it, you're going to turn it into butter. So I'm going to turn this up. It may get a little loud here for a second. But we'll watch this go ahead and turn into whipped cream. It may take like 2 minutes, but it'll start to thicken. You could put like nutmeg or cinnamon. You could do all kinds of things to make different flavors. It's going to start to thicken here soon. And we will have some whipped cream. It's starting to thicken. And I'm creating my own homemade cold foam. What I'm going to do is stop right here to taste it, just to make sure it's a little sweet and not too sweet or not sweet enough. You can see it's already starting to thicken a little bit there. Let's see. Turn it off. Very good. So we will go ahead and that's sweet. That's good. That's perfect. So go ahead and finish this off. Get it real thick. Well, not real thick, but thicker. And since I'm going to be making a cold foam, I'm going to do it just a little bit more. And then I'll show the process of when I actually turn it into whipped cream. But for the cold foam, I don't want it too thick, like a whipped cream. You can see now it's starting to thicken there. And if I keep doing it, it'll turn like a whip, like a foam. But I think I'm to the point where I'm going to go ahead and stop right now. That's a good consistency for a cold foam. Alright, you can see right there. And for a cold foam, let's see. You can see right here. Perfect for a cold foam. And if I keep whipping it, it'll turn into a whipped cream. It's not liquid anymore. It's a foam. Perfect. Taste it again. Perfect. And then I'm gonna go ahead and make an iced coffee, put the cold foam on top, and then I'll share how I turn it into whipped cream. Okay, I have my cup of coffee I just brewed up here, and I have a little bit of my, just like Starbucks, you don't have to use this, you could use regular milk, however you make iced coffee. And then I chilled that. I need to cool the coffee a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in there. Pour the coffee in here. Stir it up. There's my coffee. And then I'm going to put some whipped cream on top. Some cold foam. Try it. Might need a little bit more. There. Perfect. Now I'm gonna put my whipped cold foam on top. Matter of fact, I might whip it real quick again, because it will lose its fluffiness if you let it sit too long. So we're going to go ahead and thicken this up a little bit. See how it's thickening? Perfect. Okay. Got that. Get some of this cold foam and put it right on top. Look at that. Yum. Oh, that is a good iced coffee. Cold foam, whipping foam. Alright, and I'm gonna put some cinnamon sugar and call it a day. Cinnamon sugar. You can even use a real thing of, oopsie. Oh well. And you can even use a real cinnamon stick. Put it in there and stick it right in and make it look really cute. Put a straw. That is a homemade iced coffee with homemade cold foam. And then I'm gonna whip this up real quick and turn that rest of that into whipped cream. Alrighty. Now we're going to turn the rest of this cold foam into a whipped cream. And we'll put it on top of something that I make today. Some veggies, some fruits from the garden. We've got some berries, some blueberries. Can make a blueberry cobbler. And just put this right on top. The longer we whip this, the more it'll turn into a whipped cream. And if you keep whipping it, it'll And if you get it too thick, it'll turn into like a butter, like a thick butter. So I don't want to do it that much. But you can see it's thickening here. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a good whipped cream right there. Oh, they're gonna love this. Spoiled family. Oh yeah, that's a good whipped cream right there. Look at this. That's a good thick whipped cream right there. So there you go. Homemade whipped cream. Perfecto. Look at that. Wonderful. Now I gotta try it. Let me try it. That's so good. Alright, that's how you make homemade whipped cream. Or cold foam. Or butter.